Mac Jones regaining his confidence now under Kyle Shanahan with the San Francisco 49ers. Big Week 2 win over the New Orleans Saints. And you know who else was impressed with Mac Jones? QB1, Brock Purdy. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Coach Crocky. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We love you. We appreciate you. And make sure you're all subscribed up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Got some great quotes here post-game, Croc, from Mac Jones on himself, Brock Purdy on Mac Jones, Trent Williams on his ailing knee, which I think is maybe a little bit worse than we realized, especially with the way he played. We'll talk about some PFF grades and the offensive line and some other the defensive secondary specifically, Croc. But I want to start here with the quarterbacks. It's the big story with Mac Jones playing very well for the San Francisco 49ers. PFF grade, not great, by the way. It's kind of just like, he was fine, according to the PFF graders. But I think
understandable too. I mean, it didn't start off very well. Mm-hmm. It was actually very shaky for, I'd say, about 1.5 quarters of the game. Did have a bad sack where he ended up fumbling the ball. So I could definitely see some of the context where it's like, not the highest PFF grade.
And that's basically what you said is exactly what Kyle Shanahan said after the game. I was really impressed. Mac played awesome. Didn't love the fumble, but it didn't look like there was anybody open. Would rather he got his ball out of his hands, So, some good and bad started slow. The way it finished, though, once they get in the groove is really why you feel good about Mac Jones and needing to play maybe a few more games. And we'll get to Kyle's comments on Brock and Mac. We'll get to Brock's comments on Mac, but I want to start with Mac's comments on himself. And it's something that's pretty important because you look at the way his career went. He was, obviously he was at Alabama with, a mega team, and then gets drafted number 15 by the Patriots, has a good rookie season, and then just it all fell apart. And he was bad for a couple of years and didn't play all that well as a backup that was forced into starting mode again. But for the 49ers, and that was for the Jacksonville Jaguars last year, but for the 49ers, having a backup quarterback that's still young and in his 20s, that has 4 years of starting experience under his belt is a really nice thing to have, and has come in super handy for the San Francisco 49ers now with the Brock Purdy injury. So the Niners are in a good spot to have a backup that's as good as Mac Jones here, and obviously a nice fit in Kyle Shanahan's offense, which is something we expected him to be. People maybe going a little overboard with his performance and how good he was. And, he should have been the number 3 pick and all this stuff. Now it's really funny how one game can really change people's thoughts. But
real quick, if you want to say he should have been the number 3 pick, you say that because he is a fit for what Kyle does, as opposed to being a number 3 overall talent.
Right. Well, and also he's already played better than Trey Lance, which is kind of the big thing. And it's like, well, yeah, Trey Lance shouldn't have been the 3rd pick either, and neither should Mac Jones. In fact, the 49ers should have sat at pick 12 and taken Micah Parsons if we're going to do the hindsight thing, right? But as far as Mac Jones goes, it's the confidence. And I think that's the biggest thing for him in his career, why he wanted to be a San Francisco 49er. He wanted to go through the Kyle Shanahan car wash. We saw what it did for Sam Darnold. We saw how good Jimmy Garoppolo played in Kyle Shanahan's offense. And basically he said, it's just good to feel just a little bit of confidence again. You can kind of feel that with Mac Jones, like a weight off his shoulders and how bad things went in his career. And so good for him to kind of rebound here and probably made him, if he keeps playing like this, he'll make himself a lot of money, probably not from the 49ers, and potentially he'll be traded. But it was actually a 2-year contract. Remember, Croc? It was a 2-year contract this offseason for Mac Jones. So he might be in demand by other teams, and we'll see if the 49ers even keep him around for the 2nd year of that, or if they have themselves developed or draft another or sign another potentially backup quarterback and potentially trade Mac Jones, because there's a lot of quarterback needy teams in the NFL that need a guy that can operate, especially half the league runs a Shanahan offense.
You said something key there. You talked about confidence, right? It's like, man, it feels good to get some confidence back. That is a huge thing and a huge element to like just playing at the NFL level in general. And I think it's the human element aspect of it is something that I don't think fans quite grasp or think about. These are a lot of guys, especially like Mac Jones, right? I'm coming from Alabama. I'm on top of the world. I get picked 15th overall. Everybody's telling me shouldn't be. They make fun of my body and all this, and he goes, makes him probably helps him get some confidence. But then from there, it just gets really bad in New England. And then you go to Jacksonville. There's not much better there. And you continue to hear everybody like this social media era, the 90s and 2000s, that they didn't have to deal with this. The way the game is covered by the people that this game is covered by, guys like you and I, who we try to be very objective and not, beat or what is it, punch down on people, right? Like,
right.
We try to just give our takes and be respectful to the players. But there's a lot of other people that maybe aren't as responsible with their takes, and just it's brutal. And these players, they see everything. They see it, they read it, they hear it. Their families tell them about it. And think about just hearing every day just how bad you are. And then you go out there and it's like, well, I'm not playing as well as I would like. What would that do to your confidence? And these guys are dealing with a lot of that every single day. Just thousands of comments on X and Instagram, think pieces with videos just telling you how bad you are. I could see how a guy like Mac Jones could, lose his confidence a little bit. And then you have a day like yesterday where things, start to come together for you, and people are like, hey, maybe he's not terrible. That's probably a good feeling. If I were him, he want to continue this feeling. Just hope that Brock Purdy is back this week so you don't have an opportunity to go out there and play bad and keep that feeling for the rest of the season.
On the topic of Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan didn't want to say anything, which I'm not surprised about. He wants the Cardinals to prepare for both Brock Purdy and Mac Jones, I assume. So I will probably not get anything concrete until late in the week. Cam Inman, though, the San Jose Mercury News, you can read his whole article in the Merc. He ran into Brock Purdy and asked him about himself and Mac, and about week 3. Brock Purdy said, quote, "We'll see," with the toe injury. And clearly, with Mac Jones looking good, the 49ers probably don't feel the pressure to push Brock Purdy out there too soon. For Brock Purdy, though, I wonder if he's like, well, wait a second, I want this other quarterback looking good. It makes me look bad. People say weird stuff about me if someone else plays good and how much money I make. Maybe I want to get back out there on the field. But Purdy told Cam Inman that, quote, he had a bunch of good throws, but that one, when we needed it, third down, cross court to Juwan, speaking of the 42-yard touchdown pass to Juwan Jennings right over the linebacker. And we highlighted that post game as the classic, Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan throw, the throws that the Kyle Shanahan asked his quarterbacks to make. Sometimes they do turn into interceptions. Sometimes they turn into big plays over the middle of the field, that intermediate area, aggressively intermediate. That was one of those throws, and that was the throw that Brock Purdy highlighted from Mac Jones in that game.
Now, that was an awesome throw. And is Juwan Jennings okay, though? Because you guys go back, watch the highlights. The way he initially was running that route, he's not the fastest guy already, but it looked like he had a little hitch in his giddy up. And then he cut the ball, and he's like, all right, let me turn it on. I don't care about how I feel right now. But I continue to monitor him. Obviously, we saw him get rolled up early in the game.
Mm-hmm.
He was a little gimpy coming off of the field. So it may have just been that. And we appreciate him for really grinding through that and playing through that injury. But yeah, it was tough to watch him run, but it was exciting at the same time to see a pass hit him in an area where, hey, I can outrun everybody to the end zone. That was a really big play for the 49ers.
Yeah, if I had to guess, Juwan Jennings probably not 100% right now. I don't know if Christian McCaffrey is necessarily 100%. And who's definitely not 100% is Trent Williams. So he talked about his knee injury. It might be worse than we even thought, but he played through it and came out with much better than he played in week 1. Nice PFF grades as well for Trent Williams. In fact, I think the best on the offensive side of the football. And Kyle Shanahan, Croc, has now climbed to the third most wins as a head coach in 49ers franchise history. We'll get to all that next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence. Hey, this episode's all about confidence, right? Whether you're Mac Jones or you feel like Mac Jones on a Monday morning when you're driving a Mazda. I got my Mazda CX-5. I'm always confident in that vehicle. I love the way that thing performed. It knocked every other car out of the park when I test drove a bunch of vehicles. And Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat, all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model of cars, and you can feel it when you sit in a Mazda. It is just a higher quality vehicle than its competitors, sitting in it and driving it, and the way it feels, the way it performs, all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV. You can drive with confidence through almost any season. And like the players on the San Francisco 49ers, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't even name their financial accounts, or especially not what's their worth, if you don't even know you have the account. So whether it's 401ks, properties, investments, and when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Man, budgets, goals, spending activity, managing finances with a partner, man, Monarch Money is really where it's at to bring all of that together. So don't let your financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That is 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL. A quick note here on the injury front with Trent Williams. This one is, this one's going to linger, much like the Brock Purdy. By the way, speaking of Brock Purdy, hold on real quick. I want to finish the Brock Purdy thing, because Joe Burrow, turf toe. He's going to be out for 3 months. So Joe Burrow feared to have grade 3 turf toe, which is similar, but probably not exactly, because I think generally turf toe is a big toe injury. Brock Purdy is apparently like underneath the middle of the foot, and so not affecting the big toe as much, as more in the middle, which I've kind of dealt with something similar before, which is more like underneath, and just it hurts to put weight on and step on, and it extends out through your middle toes. But for Burrow, it's probably going to require surgery, and that will sideline him for 3 months. And so that's just a massive reason why you don't want to rush Brock Purdy back and turn this into something that he will need surgery on. And that tells me that Mac Jones is probably going to be out there for another week, and who knows how many more weeks. But man, Joe Burrow, this is brutal for him, man. He's going through a lot in his career, injury wise, and the team they put around him has been a little weird. Yeah, it's rough, and you definitely don't want Brock Purdy going through that.
It's not even like it's not like, separated shoulder or something. It's just these lower body injuries that he continues to have. I think last year was like a wrist injury. He's at a quarterback position. He's taking a lot of hits, and it's wearing on him. But man, I mean, this one here, turf toe and sideline for 3 months. I feel bad. I think the NFL is better when you have quarterbacks like him playing and keeping his team competitive. Now I think they go to Jake Browning, I want to say, who, shout out to Jake Browning, Northern California legend, played up there at Folsom. But gosh, I think Bengal fans would tell you they'd rather see Joe Burrow out there than watch Jake Browning. So that's tough. And I guess it's good news for the 49ers to kind of realize how bad it potentially could get, or could it have been for Brock Purdy? Because Brock Purdy out 3 months, like that wouldn't be ideal at all. Now again, Mac Jones has, at least in small sample size, one game, shown to be the ability to be serviceable, and hey, I can contribute to winning football games, but you don't want to go out there without your starting quarterback for that long. So yep, I guess Brock Purdy, take your time, and whenever they say he's ready, let's go. Hopefully it's sooner than later.
On the injury front, Trent Williams, the highest graded offensive player for the 49ers, according to PFF in week 1, a 90 pass block grade, and is dealing with an injury of his own. He didn't really practice last week before the game, and Trent, talking about how he feels, said that, quote, I just said, I'm going to go until I can't. And age 37, Trent Williams thought he was going to play actually sparingly. He's got some sort of a knee bruise, which another injury that I've dealt with, another old guy injury, right? I go try to play basketball. My knee will be swollen. And basically I'm bone on bone in my right knee. I had a meniscus injury a long time ago. And so it's brutal, man, because it just affects everything. And so that's what Trent Williams is dealing with right now, is a bruise underneath his kneecap. And he played all 68 snaps in that game. And he thought he wasn't going to play the whole game. But he just said, quote, I'm going until I can't. And apparently he never said, I can't, I quit. So he stayed in there the entire game, played every snap, and played well for the 49ers. So good on Trent Williams. And it's important to have him out there.
It's tough having him out there, man. I mean, just what his body has been going through really throughout his career. I mean, going back to the then Washington Redskin days, and the cancer and having to deal with that, and when he comes to the 49ers, and obviously when he's on the field, he's been awesome. But these injuries, you'd assume that they're kind of taking the toll on him. I think he's a guy that wants to play till he's like 40 years old, but having to thug through these games the way he has this early in the season, like, bro, it's week 2. It's week 2, and he's having to try to, monitor the amount of reps and the pain, and can I play the whole game and whatnot. That's tough. That's tough. I wouldn't be surprised if this is it for Trent Williams this season, just because that just seems really difficult to have to, start your season. At some point, everybody is banged up. Everybody has stuff that's hurting. But for it to be this difficult for him to finish a game week 2, that's tough.
Taking a look at the PFF grades for the rest of the offensive line. Actually, I think 5 of the top 6 graded players on the 49ers offense were offensive linemen. And it was like, let's see. Yeah, it was Trent Williams, Jake Brendel, who had a really good run block grade, not as much of a pass block grade. Colton McKivitz was the opposite, not as good run block grade, but had a good pass block grade. And he was really solid on the right side at right tackle. Ben Barch, Dominic Pooney. So those 5 offensive linemen, the starting 5, were 5 of the top 6 grades for the 49ers. We did have a listener that was shouting out Connor Colby. Connor Colby's PFF grades were okay. They weren't amazing, but we had talked about on the post-game shows, like, how come after, there was that point you were talking about with things looking a little bit weird and disjointed on the 49ers offense for about a quarter and a half, and why did all of a sudden the pass blocking look so much better? Domain says, to answer your question, what changed? Connor Colby. He said after Barch went out and he came in, everything settled down. Even the running game got going. What do you think? Did plugging the rookie in at left guard make the difference for the 49ers? I can't argue. It was around the same time when things started to get fixed. I'd be hard-pressed to think that a rookie jumping in at left guard is the thing that fixed everything, though.
Yeah, but we know that the guard position is one of those, I don't want to say it's interchangeable or plug and play, but it's a lot easier to find a guard that can play at the NFL level as opposed to trying to find a tackle. So you found the guard, almost like the quarterback position for Kyle Shanahan, the guy that kind of fits what you do and has that kind of ability, man. You can get him in there and excel. And it sounds like the early results from him are that he's playing well. What does PFF say? Does he have a grade?
For Connor Colby, his grade was kind of middle of the road. He had a 73.1 pass blocking grade, which is solid, 55.4 run block grade. I'm trying to see if there's the 49ers only allowed, I think, let's see, Brendel allowed 4 pressures. Nobody else allowed more than 1 pressure. And there was only a couple other pressures the entire game. So most of that pressure came early in the game. Looking at the defensive side of the ball, no surprise, Fred Warner, highest graded player on the entire team, and he had a 95 grade. That checks out. Bryce Huff, Nick Bosa with the late sacks and the pressures they got were graded pretty well for the 49ers. D. Winters was top 5 as well. But for the bottom of the group, Croc, are you surprised to find out that the 49ers secondary had some of the worst grades? Deommodore Lenoir, 45.7 grade, Renardo Green, 43.1, Marcus Siegel, 41.4 grade. I know Marcus Siegel had the touchdown caught over his head, but he had pretty good coverage to that point. A better game for Upton Stout, though, as far as the PFF grades. And I think, again, a competitive outing for Upton Stout, even though the Saints, as we expected, went after him quite often.
Yeah, I could see that with the back end guys. I mean, I think they were kind of challenged all game, and I felt like everyone kind of had their part in giving up some plays. Obviously, early on, Renardo Green giving up the explosive play down the sideline. You talked about Siegel touchdown, even Upton Stout. There were some penalties there, things like that can kind of drop your PFF grade, but they were competitive, and for a young group, I think you kind of give them a little bit longer of a leash to kind of figure it out, right? You got a new defensive coordinator, hey, they want us doing things like this or like that, and these things are different, and you try to figure out all those things. Ultimately, you want to see those guys continue to not make the same mistakes that they made the previous week. So that's what I'll be looking for guys like Upton Stout, Renardo Green, Siegel. Now, Deommodore Lenoir, that's the interesting one because I don't even really remember hearing his name called.
Not really. I was trying to think of the same thing. It's like, man, I don't remember anything like good or bad necessarily. Which is usually a good sign when you don't hear the cornerback's name called, kind of like an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
One more quick note on Renardo Green. Clearly, Kellen Moore saw something, right? Was it maybe an over-aggressiveness to try to hit him with the double move with Renardo Green? Because they came out of the gate throwing at Renardo Green. Yeah. I feel like that was very purposeful. Like they saw something. And that might be a self-scouting thing. It's like, well, why would all this? Because I wouldn't think that, Renardo Green's the guy you have to target on the 49ers defense.
I mean, they targeted him 3 times on the first drive. They completed a pass, but there was a penalty. It got called back. Then they came right back and, dropped the bomb on his head down the left sideline. Then they came at him again in the end zone on the ball that was, dropped by Olave. So, I mean, 3 times and targeting him vertically down the field. That was with the intent. It wasn't just, hey, we're going to go through our reads. It's like, no, we feel like we can get this guy this way, or we can, if you attack him this way, we can get him to do this, and he will react this way. And they went right after him.
Kyle Shanahan climbs to number 3 all-time wins as head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. Who did he pass? Who's still above him? And more to finish up this episode. Locked On 49ers next. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. NFL season's here. FanDuel making sure you're ready for kickoff every single week with a can't-miss offer. And you're going to want to jump on this offer because right now new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I've never seen, in all the years FanDuel's been a sponsor of this podcast, I've never seen them give away $300 in bonus bets before. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now is the time. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays or Saturdays. College football lines, baseball, football, basketball, everything. You can find it all and get in on the action at FanDuel. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. I'm going to bring this up on the screen here because the 49ers social team made a nice little graphic. And so I'm going to put this up here. Kyle Shanahan leaps over Lawrence Shaw, a.k.a. Buck Shaw. And if that name doesn't sound familiar to you, and it probably shouldn't because most people weren't alive, Buck Shaw was the original head coach of the San Francisco 49ers in 1946 to 1954. He amassed 71 wins with a nearly 65 win percentage, which is really good for those first San Francisco 49ers football teams. Kyle Shanahan has now leapfrogged him with 72 wins all time as head coach of the San Francisco 49ers since 2017. And the only two men ahead of Kyle Shanahan are the great Hall of Famer Bill Walsh, and number one with 98 wins is George Seifert, Croc. So 28 wins away from Kyle Shanahan becoming the first coach in 49ers history to have 100 wins as head coach. That's 3 10-win seasons. Can he get there? Man, I think Kyle Shanahan might get there, because it would be hard to see a scenario where Kyle Shanahan is fired this year and probably not next year either. We might be talking about Kyle Shanahan as the winningest coach in 49ers franchise history.
Yeah, he'll pass Bill Walsh next season.
Well, it's 20 wins to get to Bill Walsh from here. So 8 more this year, 10 next year, and you're at 92. And he's still got to go 10 more this year and 10 more next year. So averaging 11 per these 2 seasons here. Can he do it? I think he can.
Yeah. So here's the way I look at it. The schedule, and I know a lot of people, straight to schedule, you don't know until everybody plays and all that. Like, I get it, but I mean, how confident was everybody except for Wink heading into the New Orleans Saints game? It's like, oh, okay, Saints, Spencer Rattler, you're confident, right? Like, their schedule permits them, you should be confident that the 49ers will win 10 plus games this season. Yep. And then next year, you assume that they will be even better, right? They're playing a lot of young guys on, especially on defense. You do have some young guys on offense. They'll add some things. So I always looked at this as kind of a reloading season. So as you're getting kind of back in the groove of things, I think next season they'll win 10 plus games. So yeah, I like him to pass Bill Walsh by next year's playoffs.
The win percentage for George Seifert is the crazy part. So George Seifert, number one with 98 wins. He's got the 2 Super Bowl championships, immediately won. Has that ever happened in NFL history? I can't think of a time where 2 different head coaches won back-to-back Super Bowls for the same team, because Bill Walsh won 88 and then abruptly retired. He said, I've done 10 years. I always said 10 years is the right time to step away. He was tearful in that famous locker room post-game interview. And then George Seifert took over and won the very next Super Bowl. The Niners went back-to-back, and then Seifert won again in 95, a few years later. So Seifert with a almost 77% win percentage, 766, one of the best all-time for any team in NFL history, winning percentages as a head coach. I mean, that's something that is really hard to do with how many games he won. 98-30 career win-loss for George Seifert. Bill Walsh was over 60% win percentage, 92 wins. Kyle Shanahan now just under 54% win percentage, 72 wins to 62 losses. Then Buck Shaw, 71. Then it drops down to Steve Mariucci, who has 57 career wins as head coach of the Niners from 97 to 2002. Then Dick Nolan, 54, and Jim Harbaugh, who has the second best win percentage, 695 win percentage. So just a hair under 70% win percentage for Jim Harbaugh in his 4 years from 2011 to 2014. Harbaugh is 7th all-time in wins.
Yeah, I think the most important thing, and you said it, man, George Seifert and that winning percentage, to win at that level for that many years. He had some great teams. That was not the salary cap era. So, being able to keep some of your team. Just imagine if Kyle Shanahan didn't have to worry about a salary cap. DeForest Buckner, would he have ever got traded?
Yeah. Imagine all the players that would still be on the 49ers roster right now. Hufanga would still be there potentially. I mean, they might not have paid everybody, but here's what's crazy, though. Kyle Shanahan's already coached 8 more games than George Seifert, but Seifert has 26 more wins.
Wow. That's wild.
That is insane.
That's wild.
Kyle Shanahan very likely is going to have triple-digit wins and be the winningest head coach in 49ers history, though. That's what that's what I'm learning from these numbers that I'm looking at right now. Unless he gets fired in the next 3 seasons, which is entirely possible. I mean, it comes at you fast in the NFL, Croc. I mean, you probably can't say that any coach in the NFL is 100% safe from not being fired this coming off season, right? It's the Chiefs are 0-2. They're not going to fire Andy Reid, but man, could you see a scenario where maybe he's like, oh man, I'm done, after this year? It's possible. The NFL world is crazy, and that coaching cycle is nuts. And a third of the teams fire their coaches every single season. I don't think the Niners are going to be one of those, though.
Well, Bill Walsh, he said 10 years and I'm done. I don't know if Kyle Shanahan has in his head a number of years, but he's approaching 10 years. Is it year 9? Year 8? Near 9.
He's already finished year 8. So, yeah, he's into year 9 now. 2 games into year 9 for Kyle Shanahan.
Wow. Already.
That's insane to think that he's 1 year off of how long Bill Walsh coached that dynastic run for the 49ers. And Kyle Shanahan started a lot younger, too. So he's not going to retire before the age of 45 as head coach, right?
You don't know. No.
You never know. Sean McVay's even younger than Kyle, and he almost stepped down last year. It's a grind, man.
It is a grind. I mean, head coach, you're responsible for literally every single thing. And I can only imagine trying to manage all these personalities at the NFL level with a lot of guys making a lot of money, right? I mean, show up when they want to show up, do certain things, a lot of things that probably just don't get out. I mean, when was it that we found out that, Antonio Brown's kind of an asshole? Like, we didn't know for a really long time.
And there's all these stories from even when he was like, that we didn't know anything about it, and he was playing at his best and the weird stuff he was doing. And then you see it go even further off the deep end, and then people aren't afraid to talk about it anymore once he's not on the team. And it's like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
And you got to deal with that and potentially, 90 of those guys in the offseason, 53 of them on your regular roster. I mean, not everyone's an insane person, obviously, but you're going to have a lot of personalities, a lot to deal with. And that's why these guys age so quickly and they don't sleep. Congrats to Kyle Shanahan, number 3 all time. Very likely is going to end up number 1 all time for the 49ers. Let us know what you think. Winky Wednesday tomorrow. We're going to start turning the page to those Arizona Cardinals for week number 3. So stay tuned here to Locked On 49ers. What we do every single day, breaking down your San Francisco 49ers. Hit us up at BD Peacock, at Coach Crocky. Make sure you're subbed up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. And back tomorrow right here, Locked On 49ers.